I guess that starts the Munga training. 6.5 hours, 153 Ks. My entry into the Munga has been confirmed for about a week now, and ever since I made it public that I'm doing the Munga, a lot of people have been coming to me and asking me for advice, what bike to use, what spares to take, what equipment to take, what saddlebags to use. And to be honest, this is my first time, so I don't actually know, to be really honest. But luckily I do know the right people in the right places who have done the event before. They've had quite high placings overall, so I'm going to be digging into it, and through the process of finding out all these questions, I'm going to be sharing them with you, so stay tuned, and I look forward to being part of this journey with you. So let's go through this together. It's going to be a life-changing experience. We're all going to hit rock bottom, but it's how we get out of that pit and how we climb out of it, which is going to really define us. Is really going to define who we are and help us on our journey through the rest of our lives. When I committed to the Munga, the first thing I thought about was, what bike do I use? Do I get a gravel bike? Do I go on a mountain bike? Do I go for a road bike feel? So these are things that I've been thinking about, and this is the bike I'm going to be using. So this is my bicycle of choice for the Munga. Now if I were you, I'd also be very confused, as there are two bikes standing here. But what we're going to do is, on the one side we have a gravel bike, and on the other side we have a purebred hardtail mountain bike. Now before going forward, I just want to say a big thank you to Kevin Benkenstein from Benke Rides for helping me make this decision in this bike choice. There are elements from both bikes, the gravel bike and the mountain bike, which we can use to create the ultimate Munga racing machine. So when looking at a Munga bike, there are a couple of elements that we can take from a gravel bike or a traditionally built a road bike and apply to your Munga racing machine. The first one being is the traditional road handlebar. Now some people probably think, I'm just going to take my mountain bike and use my normal mountain bike handlebars. What the road bike handlebar gives you is essentially 3 different places to hold on while you're busy riding. On top of the hoods, on top of the handlebar, and the drops as well. But when making this choice, you want to go for a handlebar that has quite an aggressive flare at the bottom. So from the top of the bars, when the handlebar sort of drops down, you get handlebars that have either a 16 and up to 18 degree flare in the handlebar. What that does is it extends the reach outwards a little bit, and that makes riding on the corrugated downhills quite a lot easier. The bike just feels, you feel like you're just in control of the bike the whole time. Another aspect from the gravel bike or a traditional road bike, which you can apply to your Munga bike, would be the 2-bar system in the front. Traditionally nowadays mountain bikes come with a 1-bar system in the front. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 2-bar system and apply it to the mountain bike, which will give you a much wider range of gears for all sorts of terrains. When you're blowing, you have the easy gear, but when you're going pretty fast on the flat sections, you've got that big gear that you can turn over and get up to a nice top speed. The reason we won't go with a full-on gravel bike for the Munga is that the clearance in the fork and the rear frame, it's slightly narrow, so you're not able to put a really big mountain bike tire on it, which you'll need for the Munga. There's a lot of corrugated roads, a lot of rocky sections, and you need a little bit more of that sponge in the tire. So that's the reason we won't go with the full-on gravel bike. Now, when building your Munga bike, definitely a few things on the mountain bike which you cannot leave out. The first one being is the very thick tires. On the tough, harsh, rutted, rocky terrain, you definitely need the much wider tire for that extra bit of traction, which is why we can't use the gravel bike on its own. So I'm not quite sure if I'm still going to be using the mountain bike shock or a rigid fork at the Munga. I'm still a little bit undecided, but if you are going to go for a rigid fork, make sure that you have a slightly wider tire in the front, a 2.35 width tire. Another thing you want to look at when building your Munga bike is putting on a set of tri-bars. That gives you another place to put your arms when you're tired and when you're falling asleep. So that's another element that gives you kind of 4 places to put your hands or your arms when you're out riding: on top of the hoods, on the top of the bars, on your drops, or the tri-bars. So essentially what you're doing is you're taking 3 bikes, a road bike, a mountain bike, and a triathlon bike, and putting them into one. Another thing you don't want to overlook is having very few bottle cages. You've got to make sure that your bike can take up to 2, 3, 4, or even 5 bottle cages. Now there are bikes that do provide that facility to be able to put bottles in your bike. If they don't, I definitely recommend going with the Camelback. For now, I'm not going to be putting the 2 bikes together. I'm going to keep the build for a later stage. The reason is I want to keep this bike for a little bit of training, to put in a big week of training coming up. So as I make the build, I will document it, and you can have a look and see exactly how it's going to go down. Thank you for watching this video. That's the bike I'll be using for the Munga. I will be running a crowdfunding campaign leading up to the event, which will help me cover my costs in terms of getting to the race, accommodation at the end, traveling back, new bike lights, saddlebags, equipment, to best prepare myself for the event. If you are generous enough and would like to make a donation, please feel free to make a donation. It will be used to help me on this journey. If you don't want to make a donation, I'll probably just be paying off a credit card for a very long time. Here's the link, you can have a look at it, and hopefully these videos that I put together will be able to help and give back to people making donations. In my next video, I'm going to be going through exactly what saddlebags I'm going to be using and what else we need to take along. Look out for that video, and we'll also go into a little bit of training, what to do when, how much to train, how much not to train, but the biggest thing is to not overtrain. Keep going and make sure you're getting in those long rides.